let's get going. By the way, we are heading to the Guimarães. The city is considered the birthplace of Portugal because Alfonso Henriques, who went on to be the first king of Portugal, was born in this city and was briefly the capital city during the founding of the country. Today, the municipality is home to 160,000, with textiles and shoes being the primary industry. If you are taking the train or buses, it's approximately 45 to 60 minutes. Driving takes about 40 minutes on the toll road and an hour on the national road. By the way, please bring some change. You'll see why. With that being said, I'd like to welcome you to Guimarães. And we are here. Okay. Now the next thing is parking. Ooh. Now parking here is actually not that bad. It's 60 cents euro for 1 hour or 120 for 2. You know what? I'm going to go for 2, but just make sure you bring your change with you because they don't accept credit cards here. So with that being said, damn, I think you need the exact change. That really sucks. So frustrating. I have to go in and get exact change right now. Oh my goodness, this pastry shop saved my day. Like, it's so frustrating. So you know what I got? I got a cup and also a small cute pastry. I'm going to just gobble this down so I can pay for the parking and get the heck out of here. So altogether cost 160 euro. Not bad. It's like 2 something. With that being said, let's cheers. Wake ourselves up. By the way, they gave me a lot of change, so I should be okay now. Let us start our adventure by confessing our sins at the Santos Passos Church, one of Portugal's prettiest Baroque churches. The origin of the church goes back to a small chapel dedicated to a church of Our Lady of Consolation, built in 1576. The Baroque church we see today dates from 1785 with a design by architect André Soares. The facade of the church is lined up with the azulejo tile panels. The church was further enlarged in the 19th century with the addition of the 2 towers. The interior is impressively neoclassical and filled with 14 mother-of-pearl frame paintings depicting the way of the cross in the polychrome in 18th century French engravings. Facing the church is the impossible to miss the Republic of Brazil Gardens, an iconic postcard and the most photographed spot in Guimarães, complete in the end of 20th century and has maintained its design throughout the years. At the end of the garden leads us to a historic center. Since 2001, it is declared as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The historic structures trace back to the medieval ages, covering an area of 16 hectares and retain many of its original styles and designs from the medieval ages until the 19th century. So be aware, a lot of the attraction here is not open on Mondays, which is today. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Let's continue on. It wasn't long before we bumped into a very cute plaza in the old city, the Olive Square, owing its name to a century-old olive tree planted on this site. Most notable feature is a Gothic shrine built on the reign of Alfonso IV to commemorate the Battle of Salto, where Portuguese and Castilian forces together defeated the Moorish army from Granada in 1340. Now there is 2 euros to get in, so make sure once again to have some change, because a lot of those churches do not take cards. Facing the shrine is the Church of Our Lady of Olivia, originally a monastery dedicated to Savior of the world, the Blessed Virgin Mary and the Holy Apostles, by the Countess Madonna Diaz in the year 949. Little remains of the original construction, although a Romanesque chancel dating from the second half of the 12th century, originally from the main church portal, has been preserved. It was donated to the Catholic Church by King Guimaraes II. So if you want to light a candle, there's candles down here, and also fire starter over here, and It costs 50 cents here, and you can throw into it and you can light a candle. Between 1074 to 1075, Pope Gregory VII prohibited double monastery. By 1089, the monastery was transitioned to a single monastery and turned into a collegiate church in 1139. The church is notable for its ornate 18th century altarpiece, the striking silver altar of the Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, and the exquisite neoclassical choir stalls. The church was shut down in 1911 and reopened in 1967. As we are making our way to the next attraction, there's many notable landmarks along the way. Next to the church is an old town hall, another one of the oldest buildings. As you can see, the weather is not really cooperating today. It's a bit rain. Oof. The former convent at St. Clair, built back in 1548 and occupied nuns between 1562 to 1891 when the last surviving nun died. If you got time, check out as it is free, but unless you are looking for a church for your next wedding, you are going to have church fatigue. Now, I'll be honest with you, having all these church clothes makes my job easier. It means I can just show outside, but it would be nice to go in a couple of the churches, not just one. Look what I found. It says Chapel of Steps of the Passion of Christ. These small chapels are very popular, showcasing the devotion to the Passion of Christ. Initially 7 were built in 1727. Over time, the growth of the city and these chapel was dismantled, and today only 5 of the 7 remain. Another one of these chapels is located right outside of Our Lady of Mount Carmel's church. One thing I really like about this town is everything's walking distance within a minute or two of each other. Oh, look at that. Throughout the city, there are countless monuments dedicated to my dad. Alfonso I, the first king of Portugal. This impressive bronze statue was created by the Portuguese sculptor Antônio Soares de Redes, located right outside the palace of the Duke of Bragança. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm actually really pressed for time, but this apparently is the most visited museum in all of northern Portugal. It's only €5. The design was inspired by that of typical French manor houses. Construction began in the early 15th centuries. In the most recent history, the palace was restored as a presidential residence for the former Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio de Oliveira Salazar. Today is a museum. If you got time, feel free to wander through the rooms, which houses a collection of Flemish tapestries, medieval weapons, a chapel or glittering stainless steel windows, an enormous tapestry that relates to various episodes in the Portuguese attempt to conquer North Africa. By now you probably know this town is full of churches, and the same thing here. Right beside the castle is a really cute small church. Now, you can just spend forever you can check out all the churches, but this one's super small and probably only take about 1 minute to get in and get out. With that being said, let's have a look. Wow, it is really small. Actually, there's only 2 rooms. This room and the room right down there. So let me give you a tour. This small chapel was built in the 13th centuries. However, according to a tradition, this church would have been built in the 12th century by the Henry of Burgundy, where he would have baptized his son, the first king of Portugal, Don Alfonso Henriques. The church became severely run down during the 19th century, but was later restored in 1874 and 1940. In 1910, it was classified as a national monument. Yes, it's open. Oh my goodness. Okay. It looks really grand as well. Let's have a look. Behind the church is one of the most important and best preserved castles in Portugal. The original fortress of Castle of Guimarães was constructed in the 10th century, the period of frequent riots by Vikings from the north and the Muslims from the south. The castle was meant as a place of secure refuge for both town's inhabitants and the monks and nuns of the monastery on the site of what is now as the Church of Our Lady of Oliveira. It was enlarged in the 11th century and became the birthplace of the first king of Portugal in 1111. Though Guimaraes Castle is associated with the birthplace of Portuguese nation, the castle was remodeled by the King Denis in the late 13th and the early 14th centuries to take the shape we largely see today. The fortress withstood 2 sieges in the 14th century and thereafter fell into decline in the subsequent centuries. It was briefly used as a debtor's prison in the 19th century. The restoration began in the 1930s after it was declared a national monument in 1910. The reason my trip here only lasts for a couple minutes is because this particular castle right now is under renovation. At the same time, I didn't need to pay for it, which is good. It means we can move on to see something else. Oh, it rained! Unless you want to do some serious hiking up the serious majestic mountain, God bless you from the 617 meters high up. It will take 2 hours to be exact. Or else you need to take a 15 minutes ride on the bus 22 to Penha. Or if you got some extra euros, the cable car. Well, I got the money to spend, but coming out off season, it gives me a loyal pain in the butt. Now I got bad news for everyone. I'm not gonna get out of the car. The cable car is closed. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe it's just off season. I tell you one thing, I'm gonna give myself credit for very being determined. If those cable car won't take me up, I will freaking drive up. I'm gonna win.
In 101 to 2. Turn right onto Property Santario. Miranda de Pilatos, and your destination will be on.
We have arrived. The rain. The Penha Mountain as a place of pilgrimage goes back to the late 19th century. To meet the needs of a growing number of worshippers, the well-known Portuguese architect Marques de Silva in charge of the design for the Penha Sanctuary. The construction began in March 1931 and due to the lack of funds, the progress was slow in 1937 and 1938, and eventually it had to stop. On February 13, 1939, a big fire partially affected the sanctuary, still under construction, destroying completely the carvings of the high altar and an image of Our Lady of Concepcion. It was finally completed at the end of 1945. Together with a big terrace in front of the sanctuary. The sanctuary was blessed and opened to the public on September 14, 1947 on the annual pilgrimage day. However, it wasn't until September 1949 the church was finished with a cross in the bell tower and the church corbel with an angel facing the town. Next to the tower is a viewpoint, which gives a stunning panoramic view, not only of the center of Guimarães, but also the nearby coastal area located 50 kilometers away if God can bless you with some good clear sky.